Good morning, bonjour, bon dia, guten Morgen, hello. Um, I decided to make this video right away because today was the first day that I consulted the news regarding the so-called new EU UK summit. Okay, I listened to both parties. I stayed away from UK press because unfortunately they never report things as they are. They have that idea that they must give their bloody opinion about everything and not simply report the news and inform the people. It's it's unbelievable how they are constantly working on a narrative. All right, this is I'm generalizing, okay, but I think sometimes people in the UK are so used to that type of news that they fail to understand how biased it can be. Uh, okay, because any reporter is entitled to give his or her opinion. The issue here is when that opinion is destined to create a narrative and an idea in the person that is listening to you. And that is not correct. But go on. First of all, and remember, I still have not read the entire document. Okay, I have not read it yet completely. I work during the week. My work is a bit time consuming, even if I'm a bit of a hyperactive person. Uh, all it takes is a week like this one where I'm a bit more tired and my video production or my analysis is a bit less productive. Okay. Again, this is not a monetized channel. This channel in particular, I don't think I will ever monetize it. I have few ideas to create some type of other channels more dedicated to one or other aspect of what I want, the areas I want to explore, but not this. But let's continue. Now, first of all, this this deal, we can't call it trade deal or whatever. This agreement between the UK and the EU, and in this case, it is the EU. Okay, it's not a trade agreement with one country or another country. No, I'm going to say something, and I hope you don't hate me, okay? But Starmer, in this case, did things as he should, meaning he called up the EU and he asked for a summit with the EU instead of trying to push his weight around his inexistent weight because as we saw it had absolutely no effect, and he went directly and he spoke with the president of the commission, with Ursula von der Leyen and with Antonio Costa. Okay, good thing, a correct thing. Secondly, what is in question here is 150 billion loan that the EU has to provide weapons and increase weapons production in Europe. And if you don't know it, I will tell you, the UK has a lot of experience in producing weapons, even if they are not producing them for themselves or with British companies. The UK can produce a lot of materials, a lot of weapons, a lot of needed components for weapons that, for example, other producers in the EU will need. Okay, because this loan it has two tiers. One, to increase production in Europe itself, in Europe in the sense in the EU, and the second one is to only outsource what we cannot produce. Now, we cannot trust the US. Sorry, Americans that are listening to me. I know there are a couple of American people that see my videos, but you will understand when I say this, okay? No, we cannot trust the US. We don't know if they are going to put a failsafe ship in, for example, in the jets, like it was allegedly, and I will repeat this again, okay? Allegedly. I didn't got the evidence in my hands, okay? I did not see a report that I can trust in to say that that was happening. But 80% the US was putting fail-safe ships in jets and in other weapons and machines, especially, for example, tactical nukes. Okay, and what can I say? Or what can I say? I can say that if they were selling weapons for an unstable country that would use those weapons not to exact purpose the US had sold them the weapons to, I would understand. But to sell weapons to an ally in Europe and not disclose that, why not just sell, for example, a jet to Portugal and say, look, this is a code and there's a ship in the jet. If there is, for example, if the jet is captured or whatever, or you need to take control of that jet, you use this fail-safe ship to stop it. I will keep a copy and you will keep one. This would be honest and this would be understandable. Okay? Suppose we were in a situation of war where the enemy, whatever enemy would be, could capture weapons. This is a good way of disabling weapons. And you have no doubts that this is going to happen in the future with drones, with the entire war robotics that's going on, all of this, even to prevent, for example, if you have more and more war machines with AI that you can control from afar, this will happen more and more. There will always have to be a security, a fail-safe system. Sorry, so let me just have a sip of water. Uh, to prevent these situations. Okay, but now going back to the agreement. Now, first of all, uh, this agreement, okay, is mainly a military and weapon production and procurement agreement. Then it has other aspects. It has the aspects of the fisheries. And then it has a way of having softer rules in terms of some production in the UK. Now, does this mean, for example, that the UK will not have to follow the rules of the internal market? No. But this means, for example, for a producer in the inside of the UK, that the rules to sell into the EU will be quicker. What does this mean? A rule being quicker. Meaning, both parties will create mechanisms in order to permit the UK to, for example, sell products into the EU quicker without so much paperwork. And that would imply also in the side of the UK a reciprocal action. And I will only go so far in this part because I really have not read the fine printing and I want to read the fine printing. Because if you go into the news, in the UK, and with all of the noise that Farage is doing, betrayed and whatever, the guy must have some issue with his morning coffee or tea. He must put something in that coffee that is not sugar. I don't know, and I don't care. But in the side of UK, you have this reset Brexit, blah, 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 crap. And in the side of the EU, you have simple truths. Who said, who said that the UK could not have a decent, a better agreement with the EU that would benefit both parties? What we said is this: there is a TCA compliant in order for us to trust in you. Well, I don't know exactly what Starmer did, but he did something. Hmm? He gave something. He did the right thing. If I was in his shoes, I would have done the same thing because I would need the EU. And if it benefits the EU, what's the problem? The EU negotiates with China. The EU negotiates with Central Asia countries. The EU negotiates with Canada. The EU negotiates with Mexico, with South America, with African countries, with Middle Eastern countries. We even used to deal more with the US when it was a normal country, and with Russia when it was a normal country. Okay? The issue here is not put all of your eggs in the same basket. But I will tell you this. I continue to say this. The way I saw Starmer acting with Trump in that servile way, I cannot say I trust him. But for me, and I have repeated this often, okay? I have friends and people that I know that are British. Some of them live in the UK. Okay. I had a family member that was in the UK that is married with an English person and that had to leave. And no, they were not dark skin or some shit like that. They were lily white, whiter than me, blonde blue eyes. So, and it was the wife that wanted to leave, the English wife, because she was tired of all the fucking racism and all the fucking shit that came before and after Brexit. But I won't talk about that because I have talked about it in the past. But I prefer not to talk too much about it because this is not my life. This is the life of other people, and I owe to others the same respect that I would like them to have to me. Okay? But now, to me, this agreement is extremely important because the UK is aligning with the EU in terms of applying more sanctions to Russia, more pressure, and perhaps to participate in the boots on the ground event that will happen. We are already at war. And it's also important to include the UK into the weapons procurement and production. It's also important. It is. It is. It is. It is because there's a lot of expertise that we need to, I would not say take advantage of, but to use here in the EU to produce more and better weapons. Okay. I know, for example, that Portugal also had a role in this because we also have a lot of ties with the UK, and I am sure that Antonio Costa also used that because he is Portuguese and he knows it. But let's continue. So, in my opinion, and this remember, this is the very first video that I'm doing. I'm going to upload it today, the 20th of May. My very early opinion about this is that this is mainly a political, a military deal, move. Now, let's see if the UK is able to continue in this stance and not let itself drown, sorry, by the noise of the Farages and Tories and all that crap people inside of the UK that are ruining the country and transforming it into a hellhole. And I know you, English citizen, that are in your village or your town and you are pretty much comfortable, perhaps you still have a job, things are a bit more expensive, but you are able to afford them. I'm glad. You would think this is more perhaps a London problem, but it isn't. Okay, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. This is a UK problem, and it is something that the UK will have to deal with. The UK will have to deal with all of this because they also mention tackling immigration. But this will mean that the UK will have to participate financially with all the agreements. Okay, so in the trade, the economy, whatever, the UK will have to participate in this. And I am waiting to see how Starmer is going to pass these bills in the parliament. He has a majority, I know, but we know the voices that are there. Frankly, this is my opinion about this. I will keep keep myself informed, make a stream if necessary. I don't know. My last stream went extraordinarily well. No, my PC didn't crap down on me. No issues. So maybe I will try again to do that stream every weekend at Saturday. But meanwhile, I would say to both the EU and the UK, this can be good news. But I would not. I saw the opinion of, for example, in Sky and in the Guardian and whatever. I would not jump in that bandwagon because no, they continue to do the exact same thing they did with the TCA. I heard them speak about the TCA. For anyone that doesn't know, it's the trade and cooperation agreement between the UK and the EU that both parties agreed upon after Brexit. Okay, if you don't know, I made a video about it. If you can, go take a look in my channel. I have a video. I think I have more than one video explaining. Okay, but they jump in that bandwagon and they don't explain saying things to people, and I find that so irritating. I detest when people try to make narratives out of facts. That is beyond being extremely dangerous because you are creating a narrative that someone that is watching you may consider to be truth. Beyond being dangerous, it's morally unethical, in my opinion, and it's not factual. And you need to have the facts. If they would say, for example, like, for example, what I just said, this is a good step. For now, we see a lot of focus in the military aspect. We see a lot of focus in the external politics aspect, in continuing the pressure and the sanctions on Russia and all of that. Man, that would be absolutely correct. But to grab that little information that we have right now and start expanding it ad eternum into avenues and interviewing people like Nigel Farage, I am still here trying to understand what is your fascination with that creature. You know, I don't hate the man. He doesn't. I really don't. I just find him odd and a grifter. But I don't think he's some kind of, I don't know, criminal mastermind. He's not that. He's just a demagogue, nothing more. But why do you keep on interviewing him? Because if I see this from the outside, it's rather odd, isn't it? Well, this is my opinion. Well, folks, this is my first video about this subject. I will do some more if I can, like I told you, or stream or whatever. And I really hoped, I really hope that this gives some kind of a practical effect. But to hear people talking about the bloody e-gates and how some countries give access to the e-gates and others don't, it's so stupid. I have said this over and over and over and over. In Portugal, okay, they you pass your passport when you enter here, but you already made your check-in in the UK. So when you arrive here, the information is already here, and we have bilateral agreements. The same thing happens when Portuguese people go into the UK. And why is that? How long do we have a military and political alliance? We have tons of bilateral agreements. And all those bilateral agreements that do not disrespect our commitments with the EU, they remain valid. And the same thing goes with the bilateral deals that the UK might have with France, with Germany, with Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, with the Netherlands, with Belgium, whatever. Portugal has bilateral deals with countries so different as Brazil, as Portuguese speaking African countries, okay, with China, with Japan, with Korea. We have all a big, I don't know, and we are not the country that has more, let's say, I'm sorry, the words are missing me a bit. We are not one of the countries that has the most bilateral agreements. So it's normal. Why do people? Is this some kind of a psychological effect to not be able to be processed as a EU citizen, being a UK citizen now? Is this some kind of a mental issue, some kind of psychological effect of feeling different? Look, the UK left. Some things with this agreement now might get better in the sense of being more quick, more effective, less cumbersome in terms of paperwork and whatever. But that fundamental difference will always remain. I'm a EU citizen. Anywhere in the world, I can formally ask help to an embassy of a fellow EU country state if I don't have access to my own embassy. This is one of the perks of being a part of the EU. Okay, meaning, for example, you go to Brazil and there is an area where you only have a Portuguese consulate and you need help for some kind of paperwork or whatever, and you are German. You go to the Portuguese consulate, you explain what is happening, and the Portuguese consulate will either help you if they can, or they will immediately contact the. Suppose you got robbed and you lost all your money and your paperwork and you are out there alone. That consulate will give you the same support it would give to a Portuguese citizen. They will find you a place to stay and a way for you to go back home. Okay, this is one of the things that the UK does not have anymore because it's not a part of the EU. It did not sign the fine print on the agreement. No one read it. No one understood the true consequences of this. And if this agreement goes forward, it will be good for the UK, extremely good. And I would tell you, do not listen to people like Reform and all of those idiots. Please. When they speak, they do not have your best interests in mind. They are thinking about their own interests. Do you think they care that you are paying more for energy, that you are paying more for food, or that your kids might be going hungry, or you might have to do like I saw a dad do? Huh? I saw a dad that had two kids. I won't say where, but UK, and he was divorced of the wife. He was living on his own on a small one-bedroom apartment. When his kids went to visit him, he did not had a meal. And sometimes the mom that brought him the kids for him to spend the weekend, Saturday and Sunday with the kids, she would bring him food. She would bring more food for him and for the kids because she knew what he was going through. And none of them wanted the kids to understand what was happening. But let me tell you something: kids understand these things. Okay, they do. But that man, he didn't eat during the day. He spent the entire day with a cup of tea and a piece of bread or something. And then when he served the meal to the kids, and he ate the scraps of the kids. What the kids didn't eat, he ate. Do you think this is normal? And do you think a guy, instead of saying what is the true cause of that, blames immigrants or blames someone of a different religion or whatever, blame the state. The state is the one that failed. The state is the one that let people enter the country. The state is the one that is failing, not the person that is next to you and that might be different from you. Blame the state. Blame the state. Who was in power? The Tories. Who led the Leave the EU campaign? Nigel Farage. UKIP. And now you're falling into the same song? Do you realize that these little steps Starmer is taking now, and I know he has his shortcomings, and I have said this before, I do not trust the man. I honestly cannot trust a person like that. He's too volatile. See him being so servile with the other madmen, I don't know. But if they pull up this, it will be good for the UK. This is all I wanted to say. Look, this video has been going long enough, so I will say goodbye, tschüss, au revoir, adios, adeus, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, I will keep on this matter, and if as soon as I have time, I will do a video or stream about it. Okay.